Before we hit the intro music, I wanted to introduce to you guys the Yoakum Strength Insider. The Yoakum Strength Insider is our online training platform that takes all of the ideas that we talk about on this podcast and implements them into a program that is available to you at the touch of your fingers. Our goal with the Yoakum Strength Insider is to create better movers, to level up your life, and to move forward from where you are. We do this in a holistic fashion. Not only will you receive a program that has helped hundreds of people become better movers, you'll also receive access to our app that allows you to track everything, has video links for all exercises, and allows you to be in constant communication with a Yoakum Strength coach. Along with this, you'll get our 30-page PDF nutrition and lifestyle guidelines. That includes everything from what to eat, how much of it to eat, why we're eating it, meditation habits, and other lifestyle habits that we implement with our clients to really level up their lives. If you're interested in trying out one of these programs, use podcast 25 in the discount section right before you pay for 25% off your first program. Boom.
This is the Yoakum Strength Podcast. Take the leap down the rabbit hole with us as we interview elite level guests to unravel what high performance really is.
Well, Evie, welcome to the podcast. I'm excited to have you here.
Thank you. I'm super excited right here.
Yeah. I've been watching your page kind of grow. And like I said, I think the way I found your page is you tagged me in something, I posted it, and then a lot of my female athletes and online female trainees were watching your stuff, and I just continually kept saying, this girl's a fucking savage, bro. Like what is she doing? And then I want to be like this and I want to do that. And just I talked to you about this before we started recording, but just having that light in a field where there's not a ton of light, or if there is light, it is like the white dude in a tight polo that it's just it seems so disconnected. It's disconnected from me when you have people like that. And I am a white dude, they're so old. They're just in a different kind of world, different stratosphere. But having somebody like yourself just be that inspiration for people coming up, that somebody that's going to be a savage and go send it and go train hard and be that holistic meathead that you're talking about is super cool. So I'm pumped to have you here.
Yeah, what's actually funny is I think when you DM'd me about hey, do you want to be on the podcast? I think literally 2 hours before I was listening to your podcast. I forgot who it was. And I was like, oh my God, I can't wait till one day I'm on his podcast. It's just such a it's so dope. Your podcast, love it. So I thought that was really funny that right away, then you DM'd me. I was like, oh, let's do this. I was like, bet. So this is awesome.
You manifested that shit.
Yeah, literally 100%.
So do you want to tell people how you got to this holistic meathead sense? Because I know we talked before and you were talking about how you weren't the best mover growing up, but how did you get to this, the thought process that you're going to train hard, you're going to train like a savage, and you're going to have all these movement pieces in there? Were there any rabbit holes that you got stuck in? And I know there's a lot of things that people have to battle through growing up in the strength conditioning field, just through all the shit that gets thrown at you. And then also as an athlete, all the things that you got to battle. How did you get to the holistic meathead sense and the philosophy that you currently have?
Yeah, so I guess I would say because I started off, like I told you before, I was not the best athlete. I was not the best mover. I was never the best player on my team growing up. When I was younger, before high school, I was always a bench warmer. It was so fun. I'd be so upset, and then I started putting in a lot of work, whether it was it was mainly at that point. It was I was practicing a lot. I was getting hits, throwing a lot. I was getting that stuff done, perfecting my skill. Then I got to high school. I was better, but I still wasn't one of the best. And then that's when I found strength and conditioning. That's when I dove deep right away. And I was a good place to start was the 5x5. That's where I started. And I was it gave me a great foundation, and I loved it. But then at some point you get stagnant. And then that's where eventually I started diving deeper. I started interning. I realized this was what I wanted to do with my life. And then I eventually came across a bunch of guys like you, Yoakum, Will Rattel, Jake Tura, all those guys. And then eventually I took everyone's ideas and put it into that holistic meathead sense, because I just think it's very important to take what works. Not everything is going to work. Some people have great ideas, some people don't, but plug and play what you want to do, and it works out really pretty well. So that's how I went into that.
How did you get to a point in which you because there's a big difference, obviously, between like Will Bertel, Jake, me, Locke, and like a bunch of those guys, and the 5x5 program. And most people, what happens is you run the 5x5 program, and you can run anything at that state. You just run a consistent program, you get a
Yeah.
lot of results, and then it's really hard to break out of the mold of there's more here. I can dig deeper. I can do something more. I can look into this more because you got results. And then that was me. Like I got results from a basic like Olympic lifting program because it was just my first time lifting, a bunch of low hanging fruit everywhere. And then I
Yeah.
swore by it for way too long. And it was really hard for me to break out of like the original thought processes that I was put in, and I was stuck in that rut, knowing there was more out there and like talking to other coaches, knowing there was more out there, but I couldn't break out of it because I had gotten results right there. So how did you get to the result of like, oh, there is more. Oh, there is something past this 5x5. Was the 5x5 starting to stall on you? Did you just like have an enlightened moment? Like what was that thought process for you?
I would say I'm pretty like I'm an open person, meaning like I do take I know you guys talked about this in your last podcast, like don't take anything just something about don't be open, whatever, like stick to your thoughts, because you guys are older, you guys are more advanced, you guys are obviously way more successful than I am at this point. So at this point I'm educating myself on everything. I'm open to everything. I believe like everything works until it doesn't. Like until I try it, it doesn't work. And I'm like, all right, let's throw that out. So again, with like the 5x5, I was doing that for so long. Loved it. So, like you said, like newbie gains, loved it. It was great. And then eventually I became stagnant. And then I was like, I want to learn more. I want to learn more about this field. So then I interned first for the summer for the first time at JD Strength and Performance. And he was a great guy. He is a great guy, sorry. He's a great guy. And I actually worked with him like as a co-coach this summer, which was super fun. But anyway, yeah, I saw like traditional strength and conditioning at his place. It was more than just like 5x5. It was also like the speed work, some like bodybuilding type work too, as well, because he worked with mainly hockey players. So his main focus was to get these small guys bigger. But then he also had a lot of speed work. We did like sled days, mats, boxes, like all this type of footwork, sprints, speed. And that's where I was like, there's a lot more to this that I did not know. And then my coworker that actually was the co-coach at that time, he was a few years older than me. He got me into conjugate. And I feel like that's where a lot of people start off of is like conjugate. And I ran that for, I would say, good year, honestly, and dove into Louis Simmons, West Side versus the World, all the stuff everyone gets into. And it was good. It was great. And again, became stagnant. I'm like, conjugate isn't everything. And also I was seeing improvements in the weight room, but I didn't see much change besides in the beginning of improvements on the field. So that was a big thing that I was like, okay, I'm getting better at this weight room thing, the weight room stuff. But why am I not getting faster? Why am I not jumping higher? Why am I not doing this? And then eventually I just dove into every like concept about like athletic performance, like specifically like sprinting, jumping. And that's around the time I met Pio Royo, who I'm actually interning with at this moment. And he's a super smart guy and pretty much indulged on everything. Like I indulged in everything he knew about that. And that's where I kind of fell into that. I'm just like, I would say overall, I'm very open to a lot of things people say, even like beginners. If they tell me something, I'm like, all right, let me try it. Let me see it. Like, I don't care. I don't care where you're at a point, because idiots come up with smart things too. Like, I don't know. Like, I just think let's listen to everybody. Like at my point in my journey, I'm not going to listen to everybody and see what I can use. So that's basically how like I would do that. So
Yeah, that's awesome. And Jake even mentioned that on the podcast. Like Jake and Will are very
yes, he
like
said that,
probably in
yeah.
the close, but he was even talking about how like when you go into the field, you have to you have to
Oh,
approach it in that sense. And one of the really nice things, and I've been writing like, bro, when Jake gets into his philosophy like things, he says so many things. I don't even know like how deep, like I don't even know if he knows how deep he's saying it, but it was super good where he was talking about how
Yeah.
like, you need data points to back up your, like you don't just get confidence. You don't just get like, I mean, some people do, but they're idiots. Like you don't want to play the game with those people where they're just confident no matter what. But it's like you need the data points to back up what you're saying. And when you're starting, you don't have data points. And that's just you're just not in the field. So you
Right.
need to be open to what your ideas until these ideas start leading to data points. And that's what I really think. And like even myself, like I'm more open than Jake and Will because I'm 5 years behind both of them too. So it's kind of cool like to see the different parts of of the journey and how you stay open and when to shut off bad ideas too. And that is one thing that I want to ask you about is like, when do you get to an idea? Because I even myself, like going through, and it happens way less now, which is cool. But when I started, it's like there's so many ideas thrown at me. And again, I didn't have the data points to back up what I was saying or what I was thinking in a sense. So it was like that idea is thrown at me. I'm going to try it. That idea was shit. Like it just didn't work. And now I can look at it with enough data points to look at it before and like cut that idea off before I start it. But
Yeah.
I guess what are some of the things that you kind of maybe got trapped in or you tried that were just like, oh my God, like you look back on it, you're like, that was just not it. That was just not the way to do it. And so many people are swearing by it.
Yeah, I guess tip raises. You guys were talking about that on the podcast. I was dying. I was like, yeah, like stuff like that. I guess knees over toes, like being sold on that. I was like for like not even a few weeks. I did it probably for like a week or two, like some like knees over toes stuff. I was like, this is not it. I was like, this is not what I want to do in the weight room every single day. Like, I don't want to do this half Patrick step up, whatever they call it. The tib raises. I was like, no. And then I was like, pogos, way better. And you get more out of it. Like you just jump for 5 minutes every day. And I'm like, bounce, and you build everything around the ankle. And I'm like, just finding these new different ideas. I guess a main thing though is conjugate as well, like being sold on the exact not definition, the exact programming of conjugate. Like you talk about that all the time, about like conjugate, you do not have to live by those rules. Yes, it is a great foundation. It is great for powerlifting, but like when you got to take that into the sports side and you have to include sprints and jumps. It's not just about moving the bar fast and then going max effort. It's so much more than that. And that's something I had to learn a lot because I was also diehard conjugate. I have my like 3 Louis Simmons shirts. Like I still love conjugate because I think conjugate applies to everything. I think everything's conjugate because conjugate is basically connecting different parts, using different qualities at once. And that's everything. That's everything we all do in our programming. That's what we're trying to do. Doing conjugate is being an athlete because we are incorporating all these different qualities. Like we want to be fast, we want to jump high, but we also want to be like powerful. We want to do all these different types of things and be like have good work capacity. So conjugate is everything. It's just how you're going to apply it. Like if you're going to apply it for an athlete, so we're just moving the bar quick and we're not doing jumps and stuff, like that's not right. That's not right at all. And if you're a power lifter, go ahead, go dive deep into the conjugate world. And eventually I'm going to do that because I want to see how heavy I can go on some of the barbell lifts. But at this point, I'm last year, senior year, softball, I'm like, this is it. So I'm like, I just want to be the most athletic I can for this season. And yeah.
And I know, so you mentioned that you're in the softball field and every softball girl I've trained, like a softball girl and a softball culture is much different than the typical, like, culture of fitness that girls are put into. And it's really nice to work with a softball girl because they're always just like ready to fucking go, especially in the weight room, which is really cool. But you're in conjugate, like and you're saying all this stuff, like, but I don't think you understand how rare it is for like a female athlete to be into conjugate, to be into stimulating the body, to be into like training the body hard. I don't think you understand how rare it is. And I even in your circle where it's like how rare like a softball girl is, like, and then that culture and the culture built around fitness there. I'm really interested in how do you get into that culture and how have you helped other female athletes get into the culture of where like you can stimulate the body. You don't need to sit in this like kind of toning and like, like it's just the bad fitness culture that so many coaches just like they fuck people up with. Like it's so messed up, like how we approach fitness for males versus females. And like there's so many things wrong with how we approach it with males, and there's so many things wrong with how we approach it with females. And just like that's on us as coaches and like our ability to do it. And one of the things, like, it's just super cool to see how far into it and like how far you've pushed your body and the results you're getting from it too. Like how did you get there? Like I'm just super interested in how you got there and how you help other female athletes kind of get into that kind of setting.
Yeah. So I would say I have 2 parts to that question. So one is the way I did it, the best experience I had with a whole female athlete like weight room was my softball team. I've trained them last semester. I trained them the whole time, and then half of the beginning of last year. So
Your college team that you're
yeah,
on? Oh,
yeah,
that's awesome. That's dope.
yeah. So it was, oh my God, the best experience. That's where I gained all my confidence because it also was my friends. It was all my friends. So they were super like respectful. Like I wasn't getting a bunch of assholes. Like they were super respectful and nice and listened to me and truly believed in me. So I would say that it's like after talking to a bunch of them, after like training them for like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 months, just like I would say more than half told me that they got comfortable just being in a weight room.
Mm.
And I find that insane. It's like guys go in and are doing this dumbest stuff, like maxing out on bench, and they're like, yeah, I'm this big bro, like let's go. Like, and I'm like, dude, like why I hate that. Like these guys look like idiots. And then like female athletes are scared to go into the weight room. I'm like, trust me, you're going to be doing so much better stuff than that guy ego lifting, thinking like 185 is good for his max and he weighs whatever. And I'm just like, it's so silly. It's so basically working with them made me so happy. Like I didn't even care about the main goal was a lot of them needed foundational work, the basics, like pure basics, which also makes me sad because they're collegiate athletes. And this isn't their fault. I wouldn't say necessarily like, why aren't we pushing strength and conditioning more for female athletes? It's just stupid. The fact that they were sophomores and juniors that have never lifted, even seniors that have never lifted legit ever, and that I was their first step to that. I mean, I'm so glad that I was able to reach them in that way. And I know even the ones that graduated still text me like, hey, I did this on bench press, whatever. And I love that. But I hate that it took them how many, 20 years to get into that. While, like you said, males are into it and 10 years old, they're already like, oh, let's go get to hit some bicep curls and whatever, hit arms today. And female athletes are just not. So working with them was great. And I was always super encouraging. The energy is, oh yeah, the second part of that question, I wrote it down because my head goes everywhere. But I would say it's so important to get female athletes into the weight room because the culture when they are there and it's comfortable is insane. I've worked in weight rooms where it's all males, I'm the only female, and I've also worked in weight rooms where it's all females. And the difference is just like I love working with guys, like it's super fun, great energy, like yeah, like whatever, getting hype and stuff. With the female athlete, it's more than that. It's more than just yelling and like slapping each other's backs. They're encouraging each other. They're like, you got this, like let's go. Like it's like literally so beautiful. Like yet last night, I was working with Pete and it was a 3 hours straight of soccer teams, like one per hour. And they were hyping each other up. They were super encouraging. And it's so different from like a full male weight room. And that's why I think we need more females in the weight room so we can get more of that culture on both sides. Cause I think you can work with like the hardcore type stuff, but you also like it's just insane how encouraging they get into the weight room. It's just a great atmosphere. Like I love to be in, especially with my team. We were always like positive energy, good vibes, and I loved it. So
Guys are a pain in the ass to work with compared to girls. It's
yes.
not even
Oh my
close.
God. Oh yeah,
It's not even close.
I was about to say, also the discipline is, oh my God. Female athletes work so much better. And I've heard so many coaches say that. Like they just listen so much more. It's so
It's
easy.
it's so much less
Yeah.
ego and just
Yeah.
like you said, it's like you're talking about the 185 on the bench for the 300. It's like so just unwarranted ego with a man that you're working with. You're like, bro, what are you talking about? Like, you're not strong, you're not big, you're not fast,
Literally.
and you still have this ego, like pretending like you know what you're doing. Like when you work with a female athlete, they can be a complete fucking savage, and like there's not a single ounce of ego there. And obviously, like
No,
testosterone,
exactly.
like, but like my goodness, I'd work with a savage of a female over most males almost every single day.
No, literally. I just why I'm like, it's so funny going into both the different like cultures. Cause like you said, the ego is really big. Oh, wait, like most guys, like I'm like, dude, like especially like with the guys I worked with this summer, the hockey guys are I love working with them, but they're idiots. It's so funny. Like, and my boss can also say, yeah, they're idiots. It's just like this guy. So he pulled like something. I won't say names to not be bogus. I called him out in the weight room, so don't worry. But he was like he pulled like 315 for like a good speed, like 'cause we were doing like velocity stuff, and he was super hype. I was like, he thought he was like the shit at that point. And then he goes like does his accessory stuff, and he skips the last two exercises. And I'm not babysitting, but I can tell when people finish because I was like taking care of people, and I could tell. And he just skipped the last two exercises, and he's walking out big and strong, and he's bragging to the guys, and I'm like, yo, you didn't even do like the other stuff. Like, really? Like, what's your ego? Just because you did that, you can't do the other stuff? That's the difference between AAA and AA. Like, come on. So I'm like, it's so silly. I'm just
So working with the female athletes, there's so much like psychological bullshit that is put onto them. Like when a guy turns 8 years old, it is like go get big, and so like there's so many messages that are different. How do you work with female athletes in your messaging on getting around like the body dysmorphia and the body thought processes of like bulking and toning and like just a lot of the bullshit that is thrown at female athletes? I'm always just interested in like how people approach that and the best way to do it, because as maybe basic as people talk about it, like it's never really solved or addressed, like
oh,
I've never met a way where it's been
oh,
addressed
it's
the best
never
way.
solved. It's a constant problem. Like it's honestly, I haven't figured it out, but like how I approach it is because there's a lot of, especially athletes, like female athletes, a lot of them have like eating issues, like they don't like eating disorders, and they like you have to be. I feel like it's super hard, but like with the lifting aspect, like oh, I want to do the high reps, lightweight. Um, I would say like they have to be bought in, like like right away, bought in. And once they get into like those heavy weights, that's where I've seen like, oh, like this works. And once they get the time, like more time into it, that's what works. But I honestly, like, I'm still struggling with that because even like some of my teammates, I'm like, it's like they don't want to do the heavy stuff, but I'm like, this is gonna help you. And they listen to me for the most part, but it's tough. Like I honestly don't have it figured out for that yet. And I probably should think about that a little more. But I do always stress the importance of eating. Like I would say in a way, I'm the team mom in a way. I'm like, did everyone eat their 3 meals today? I'm like, did you have a snack before practice? Like I'm always doing that type of stuff. But it is hard to approach those types of like, especially like the eating disorders, because that stuff's legit. And people, and a lot of, I feel, well, certain male athletes have gone through that, like with wrestling, but they're not aware of it because it's part of the culture. And I feel like male coaches need to be a little more empathetic in that, because it's crazy the things I've seen and heard just from my like athletes. I it's crazy. I just
Yeah.
think it's something that needs to be addressed, but in a like empathetic way. And you really have to watch your words and like what you say, because it could just be a trigger for somebody. Definitely.
Absolutely. And you're really not aware of it until you see somebody affected by it, like actually affected by it too.
No,
And it's
exactly.
like,
Yeah.
I thought I knew, like, and I like never would talk about food or do it. And it's like, I've had some bad coaches. Like when we were throwers, like some of the throwing coaches I've had would just tell girls like, go, you just got to go eat, go get big. I was like, bro, like you're
Oh,
fine. It's just the way they approach it, like such a meathead.
yeah.
And like, so like, I never went down that rabbit hole, but I never got to a point in like actually understanding like what an ED was and how it affects somebody and how
Oh,
it like changes somebody's total relationship with life. And once you see it, you're like, holy shit! Like there is so much there that you have to understand without like realizing. And there's so many words that people are saying without even realizing they're saying them. And
triggers. Yeah.
yeah, and it's pretty nuts to be able to break into that with your athlete and just have a conversation with your athletes, or just at least being educated about that with your athletes, especially in the female sector. Like you said, the wrestling sector, you see it a lot in the wrestling sector. But for sure in the female athlete group, it's like you wouldn't
Oh,
even notice it was going
there's
on
at
until it
least
gets too
yeah,
late.
there's at least a couple like in every team, I would say 100% that are dealing with that type. And I would say 90% have bad like relationships with food, but I would say like at least like 1 to 2, maybe even 3 have like eating disorders. Like it's insane how actually occur like it occur. I don't even know. How like it actually happens a lot into every team. but we're just like, a lot of people like just stay away from it, don't even like respond to it. And we need to be responding. And a great way actually is like just educating on nutrition, educating, like educating about metabolism. And like, if you're not eating, this is what's going to happen. Or like just educating on like, these are good foods to eat, whatever, just basic nutrition. Cause obviously we're not dietitians, but basic nutrition guidelines like that everyone can follow pretty easily, and just educating them on that, which is really huge.
Absolutely. I'm interested in what you think the future of like the field looks for both female athletes and female strength coaches, and like kind of where you would like to see this go. And I know this is like projecting, but just being in the experience that you've had so far, where do you think like the field can improve upon? Where do you think you can kind of take it? Where do you want to take it? Like, if you're going to be a leader on the front edge of that kind of sector, like where do you want to take the field in this sense?
Yeah, so I would say I want to dominate this industry. I'm going to. Like, I already know. And this is not me having an ego. This is me knowing that I'm obsessed with this. Like, I'm absolutely obsessed. And it's not even I'm obsessed with helping people. I'm obsessed with training. I love it. And I just so happen to help people. So that's nice. But I'm gonna dominate this field. And one of my main goals is I want to create a welcoming environment for all female athletes to have this like beginning step into the strength and conditioning world. Like, I want everyone to be able to be like, I can be strong, fit, athletic, and not be scared. I want to see, I don't like, one thing that I've gotten a lot is positive vibes from like a bunch of coaches that will like just DM me and be like, you're great, like you're awesome, like you're a beast. And that I love it. It's so nice. Like, it's good for my ego, but I think it shouldn't, it's annoying that it's surprising that a female is like a savage. It's like, I hate that it's surprising that like a female's lifting heavy weights, and that this is like not normal. So everyone's like praising me for it, but I hate that. Like, I hate that it's not more normal. Love the compliments, but hate that it's not normal. I'm like, I want to make it normal.
Make the
Like,
norm.
yeah, as I'm saying, like it should be normal. It like, I want to see female athletes lifting heavy every gym. Like, I want to see it. So
That's a badass goal. That's a good ass answer for that one. Make it the norm. Long term, like what's your thought process? College, your own private gym, or just keep doing your own stuff?
ooh.
Just right
So
now. You don't need it all mapped out. What just on top of your tongue, what do you think?
well, what I would love to do is own my own gym.
Mm-hmm.
I've been close to two other coaches that are in the private sector, and they're always like, it's real tough in the private sector. But I'm like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. And since I have them to like guide me, I feel like I can learn from their mistakes. And eventually I want to own my own gym. I want it to just be like EC strength conditioning. That'd be so dope. Like, I'd love it. And then just be a great environment, good times. Cause I love being in the gym. Even to go study and stuff. Like, I just love to be in there. I just want to be in the gym every day. Like, it's a great time. So
Well, I think that was one of the things that you mentioned. You said like I'm addicted. Like, I like that I help other people, but I'm addicted by myself. And this is where like that is such a self-awareness piece that so many coaches, I just feel like they fight themselves with. And then they almost get to a point in which the thing that drew them to the gym and made them a good coach is that they were a savage and trained to be a savage. And you learn so much in that process. And then
yeah.
they get to a stage in their career where it's like, well, now I'm a coach and now I'm not supposed to be doing that. I'm supposed to be coaching. So, and then they break off the thing that made them love it and the thing that made them good at it, which is being a savage and having a love for it and diving deep into these rabbit holes. And they break that off because they're supposed to be like the Mike Boyle, like, so they sit there and like try to put on their fucking glasses and pull back. And then you just get this like shell of a coach, like such a shell of a coach. And I'm not saying you have to go lift 800 pounds to be a good coach. I'm saying,
Oh yeah.
you don't kill your love for the, like, that doesn't get you any more respect because you killed your love for the field and now you're the sports scientist because you don't lift anymore. Like, it's
And
such a
putting on the
silly,
face for everybody else. Like, you're
it's
being
such a
scared
silly
of
like way
everyone.
to approach that. Like, it's like the thing that made you good is your obsession with this, and your obsession made you dive into 19 different rabbit holes and get really, really fucking good at it, and continue to learn things through doing. And that is such an important piece. But most people don't want to admit that because then it's like they feel like they try to hide their selfishness, almost like they tried to hide the fact that they get something out of it. And it's like, we're all selfish apes. That like how you portray it doesn't mean it's bad, it's such a weird thought process. That so now it's like you just virtue signal. So now you're just saying one thing, but you don't feel that,
You
and
don't
then you
mean it.
take that
Yeah,
anger out on your athletes, and you take your anger out
yeah.
your program, and it becomes a dead shell of a program and what you were. And I think that's such a really good piece to be self-aware of like, what makes me really good at this is my obsession with it.
Oh, definitely. And that's where like I don't ever want to be, and I hope like I get checked. I check myself is like I don't ever want to be that coach that is doing things to please other coaches or like athletes or parents, whatever it is. I don't want to be in that, like you said, the shell of a coach where it's a shell of a program and it's just like, what is this? It's not even good anymore. Like I'm at right now in my mindset, at least for like my social media and stuff, I'm at that point where I don't care. I'm just posting content. I'm just putting stuff out there, trying to get my name heard. Like I just want to be heard and put my stuff out there, whatever it is, smart, dumb, maybe literally like 2 months ago, I'm looking at stuff. I'm like, why did I post that? But I don't even care. I'm just like, whatever. I'm like showing my journey. Like that's my whole reason I made the Instagram. I'm like showing my lifting journey, showing now and then eventually went into my coaching journey because I started coaching. And so I'm like, I'm showing both of those. And I really like this is one of the most like the areas that I'm most confident in because I do read, I research, I watch videos, I listen to other coaches in the industry, and I don't care if people are like, oh, she's not doing that right. Oh, why is she doing this and that? Or why isn't she doing 5x5? Like what I don't care. Like I just really do not care what other people necessarily think all the time in the strength conditioning. Like if they have something to say, like a comment that's then I'll be like, okay, yeah, I'll take that into consideration. But I'm not trying to please anybody in any aspect. I'm not trying to be this face for people. I'm just being me and on like my social media. That's it. So
And I think I talk all the time about how, like, if you use social media in that way, like, it can be such an accelerator on who you are too. Because
yeah,
it's like, if you put out, this is what a lot of coaches do, like they put out content for other coaches, and it's like it's not really them, and they get claps for it, but it's like you're getting claps for something else that's not you. Like, put out your own shit, put out your own training journey, put out what you actually think in this moment. And then one, you can use it as a journal for yourself. It's one of the most effective journals you can have for
yeah,
yourself. Just to be able to go look back on and be like, oh, fuck. Like I thought this way back in the day. This is a trap I fell into. This is not what I believe now. You yourself can self audit, but it also allows you to like other coaches will audit for you. Like you actually put out yourself. This is what they thought, good or bad. Now you can take, okay, can I defend the point that I want to defend here? If somebody pokes a hole in it, like somebody's coming at you for what you're saying, can I defend it? If I can defend it, then that's probably a good idea that I need to develop and do more of. If I can't, then that doesn't mean the idea is bad, but I gotta get either better at articulating my argument, better at
right.
diving deep into knowing why I'm saying that argument, or my idea sucks. But like the
Yeah,
self-auditing process and the risk factor, like you can accelerate who you are as a coach. Like I think you can accelerate 10 times how fast you grow as a coach on social media versus not
oh,
if you just self-audit and allow other people to audit your ideas. But coaches don't do that. Like it's like they don't know what to post, so they don't turn into a training journal. They just put out this coach, and now I see it myself too. It's like coaches are putting out stuff like they're writing in the same way I write and in the same exact thing that like they just and they're tagging me in it just to like they know I'm gonna like it and do it. And it's like and it's nice to see, but it's like that's not you. That's me. Like
right,
that's me. And
right,
obviously you have heavy influences. I had massive influences of coaches going forward, but like that's me, or that's Will's like work that you're putting out, or that's Jake's work. And there's nothing terribly wrong with doing that once in a while, but it's just like I feel bad because then it's like you get trapped in being me, you get trapped in being Will, you get trapped in being Evie, whoever it is, like you get trapped in
right.
being that other coach. And like that is not my goal, man. Like I want you to go be yourself, and then let's have that conversation. Let's audit from there. But if you never put out who you are, nobody knows who you are. You never figure out that process.
That's the main thing why Pete, my boss, I told him, I'm like, dude, you need to post more on social media because he keeps saying like people don't know who I am and I have all this knowledge. And I'm like, let's make this journal. Let's show people what you know. And that's a huge thing that I'm so glad one of my roommates like pushed me to go and start the social media. And I was always like iffy, like, oh, what if people judge me? Oh my God, I don't lift heavy enough or whatever. And then I'm so glad it changed my life. It provided me so many job opportunities. It's like just full send it. And I've been telling even other coaches older than me who have been in the field longer. I'm like, go, like, do it. Full send, drop programs, drop content, go on YouTube, collaborate with other coaches, talk to other coaches. And I just think just full send everything in this industry, and something will stick. So
Yeah, and like our industry of all industries too. It's like it's such a dead industry. Like there's so many just robots in it. It's just like it's just open for personalities. Like if you just bring a personality in there,
exactly, yep.
and now it's just like so if you actually think you're smart, like if you don't put your personality out there and your brains, some dumbass is gonna put their person. Like if you just have a personality, you're gonna excel. So like the only way to take views away from somebody that you like Seedman is to have a better personality and a better message. So like you also have the part of like being professional in the field. It's like you guys are idiots. Like you're just saying that because you don't know how to compete with somebody like Seedman. You don't have a personality. You never developed a personality. You don't know how to get your message across. So then you sit in that bitterness and you sit arguing there. It's like the only way to counter that is to take eyeballs from it, man. And the only way to take eyeballs is to have a better message that resonates with people more. And people don't want to develop their message. And that's okay if you don't want to develop your message, or you don't want to move the field forward, or you don't want to do these things. That's perfectly okay. I totally get that. But you can't have best of both worlds. You can't say you want those things and then approach it in a way in which you're not affecting it. That's just the virtue signaling. That's just basically it's just you whining in your basement that somebody else is doing better than you.
Exactly. It's hilarious seeing sometimes some other coaches. I'm like even like your content, it's so great. And you're just putting like yourself out there. It's literally who you are, and you can just tell by your page. And I just wish more people would do that. It's just document your journey, show what you think. And if people don't like it, who cares? Who cares? Like everyone has their own thing. Like just do your thing, figure it out, put content out. And if you want to move the field forward, do that too. Like just do it.
Did you have as a young strength coach, did you have any roadblocks for you yourself doing that? Like, how did you mentally get to a point in which you're all right with doing that? Is this naturally your personality, or did you have some like, well, obviously there's always some self-doubt there, but how did you get to a point in which you're like, I'm just going to go fucking do this?
Yeah. So I would say like I started posting a bunch of stuff, just like workouts that I would do. And then I remember it was like my junior year summer, and I was diving more into like you, Will, Jake Turra, like all those guys. I was diving more into that. I was doing like hypertrophy clusters. And I just remember like, oh, like I love this. I just want to like coach somebody in this. And I was like educating myself a lot more. And I finally like my girlfriend actually convinced me. She was like, dude, you know your stuff. Like it was just like kind of like she was like, you know your stuff, go do it. And then I was kind of thrown into the deep end. I met a coach that used to work here at Lewis, and he was really busy. He was a really busy coach, and he basically was like, hey, I heard you're in exercise science and you like strength and conditioning. Can you run this travel softball team, speed and conditioning, whatever type stuff? And I was like, okay. So I did, and that was one of the best experiences I had, because I was thrown into the deep end, and it was with younger kids. Like it was, I think 12 to 16. So you know how like teenagers are, they'll be like, what? Like, what are you doing? Or whatever. So that's where I first like gained my confidence, and I was like, okay, I can do this. And then from there, like exponentially, my confidence has increased so much. And this is what I want to say is experience is everything. You can read all you want. You can watch videos all you want. You can listen to podcasts. You can do all that. Experience changes the game. Once you work with clients, once you work with athletes, that's where it's at. Like that's where I've learned the most how to be a coach. Because otherwise you can just spit out facts. Like, but once you're on the floor, you got to be creative. Someone's going to be tired. Someone's going to have an injury. Someone's going to not like what you're doing or whatever. And you need to be creative. So that was like a huge thing, was the experience portion. And ever since then, I've been gathering experiences. I've probably had like 8 jobs now from just training different types of people, working with different types of coaches. And because I'm like, I just want experience. And that's where I started exponentially seeing my growth occur like after that. So
yeah. And even there, even just drawing it back, not even a coach, but just knowledge of like what you're going to program and how you program, like experience of just training yourself too is just drawing it back to what we were talking about before. Like you learn so much more just training yourself and trying other programs and just like actually living something rather than like reading something. There's such a difference in like how much I have learned
Oh,
from just trying someone else's program out, or doing my own program and seeing if it fucking works, or coming up with a program or workout on the spot. But again,
mhm.
that goes back to the thought process that you can't be a coach and an athlete, or you can't train hard and be a coach. It's like that is like one of the main requirements for me. It's like if I'm gonna learn
Yeah,
something, I gotta go do it. Otherwise, I'm not learning anything. I'm just
yeah.
reading shit that I like sounds good in my head, but I'm not actually implementing that.
No, yeah, applying it is the main thing. Like Zach Evanesh, I remember just listening to one of his podcasts. He was a big influence for me too in the beginning. He was just like, yeah, educate yourself, but apply it. Apply it that day. Apply it the next day. Apply it in your next session with your next athlete. Do it right away. Because that's how you learn. You gotta apply it.
And applying it, going off this, you have your holistic meathead program. You train like a savage. I just want to know a little bit about your training philosophies. What are you training for? What's your training look like right now? How have you implemented all of the things that you're implementing right now? I know you talked about a lot of the crawls and rolls before we started training, but that's a massive difference from the 5x5. Like,
Yeah.
and why do you train this way? Just training philosophies.
Training philosophies. Yeah. So I'll answer first. Like right now, training for speed. I've been like the 5x5 person, heavy lifting, conjugate. So I need more bounce. I'm so like my vertical, I just want it so much better. I'm like, this is terrible. So that's what I've been working on. Latchin, your intern,
Yep.
and I'm doing racehorse too. Love it. It's great. I'm training for speed. That's what I've been doing for the last, I would say, month or so. And I already see such a huge difference because I'm a force dominant athlete. That's all I've known. So once I started including more speed work, moving stuff fast, moving myself fast, that's when I was like, all right, this is a difference. So that's what I'm working on right now. Um, so like the holistic meathead stuff, that's when I came across like honestly your stuff a few months before I made the program, and somebody else's, I forget who, but they were talking about a lot of the roles in the vestibular system and like doing more athletic movements, like not just benching, deadlifting, squatting. I fell into that, and like I said earlier, I applied it to myself, and huge difference, insane difference. Low back pain gone, couldn't be mobile. If I fell to the ground, I could like roll, like look like a ninja or something. Like it was cool, and I finally like at first I was like, how do you program this? Like I don't know how to program rolls, bear crawls. Like I'm like, like that's not something that you learn in any major. Like no one's going to teach you that. So I started applying that into like warm-ups, or even like do a heavy bench, do a few rolls, like stuff like that, or roll into sprint, or bear crawl for a warm-up, 3 minutes of play before. That's what I did a lot. And that's kind of what holistic meathead was, is a lot of it was like separated into sections of athlete section, and then it was separated into like lifting, and then like I'll say hypertrophy. So I did first was like a bunch of whether it was like lower body or upper body, it was either like jumps or crawls, rolls, sprints. That's what I had in the beginning. And I just feel like that not activated, but that made everything just so much better in the rest of the workout. So including just even 2-3 minutes a day or a few times a week, just start crawling for 3 minutes, start doing cartwheels for 3 minutes, whatever, learn a new skill. Skill acquisition was a main thing when I like came across you. I was like, this is smart. And I would learn something new, like how to do like not a backflip. I wish I could do a backflip. That's my next goal. But doing like some weird like gymnastic stuff. And after I would like spend 30 minutes on that, and then I'd go PR on bench. Like it's just this, like you always talk about, skill acquisition is crazy. So I included that. That was like the holistic portion, I would say, of the holistic meathead program, was adding in all those athletic portions, and different types of things that people don't normally see. So
Yeah, and that's super cool. And there's so many pieces that I want to kind of take it and pull with you. But you talk about the PRs right away after, and one of the coolest things is like you spend 5 to 10 minutes doing this stuff, and you feel better. You're gonna, and you have more energy. long term, that's going to lead to so many benefits because you're not beat up after every single session.
Yep.
Like that's the biggest thing I realized. Like I'm leaving the weight room feeling better than I went into it, which was the first time in my life like that had ever happened. There's so many times I just leave like completely like a fucking board, like
Yeah.
locked up, couldn't move, and then it takes like 4 to 5 hours to get out of that, and you're coming back. So like you're speeding up your recovery time. You feel way better. You're PRing more. So like the long term progress of this has been wild, and it takes 5 to 10 minutes to do. It's just literally just like basic. Like you can go as basic as like you were saying, like just 5 to 10 minutes of crawls, roll, gymnastics, just vestibular
Yep.
system stuff of moving and getting maybe the brain just a little bit involved. But the
Definitely.
physical aspect of leaving a session better than when I went into it was such a game. Like that's originally what got me hooked on this stuff. It had nothing to do with the skill acquisition, none of that stuff even. It was literally just, wow, I don't feel like shit leaving a
Yeah.
training session.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of us start out with grind, hard work, that's it. Like push heavy weight, failure. Like a lot of us in the industry start off with that. And yeah, that has its perfect purpose, but you don't have to leave the weight room feeling like crap. You don't. Like, let's feel good. Let's have more energy in the tank for like, let's say athletes, they have practice, they have a game in a few days. Like that was like you said, that was a huge game changer as well, like for me. And just the main thing was being more athletic, doing these weird things that I was not good at before, like to like somersault. Like I couldn't do a somersault. Like I felt uncomfortable. Now, if someone were to push me, I can do like 5 rolls or whatever, or like I can just do a somersault. And it's insane to see athletes when they start doing that. That's a lot of stuff I incorporated with training hockey groups this summer. Rolls to sprint. That was a game changer. By week, I think it was 10 weeks. Yeah, by week 10, they can do somersaults easy, and they were getting up from it quickly, and you could just tell they're moving better. Just the difference in the athletic performance of doing that type of stuff is insane. Like you just are more athletic, and I think a lot more people should be doing that. But then people are always scared. Like they're scared, oh, you're gonna hurt your neck or something. I'm like, just do it. I don't be soft. Like everyone always says, like, don't be soft. Like just go do it. I can't with that, but
Well, and then the whole like again, that probably goes back to the like to be competent, you need like the data points and like proving to yourself your body's capable of doing these movements. It that also opens a whole new realm of fitness and training and athleticism up to you because you're not scared of these movements because you've proven to yourself I can do these movements.
yeah,
And this is where it's so silly. You hear coaches like, oh, it's just what they did as kids. It's like, who the fuck is doing this as kids? Like, go look at a like gym class right now. Like, you guys are just so like, you guys are just repeat. This is when I know like they're just repeating what they've heard because it's like they're not actually seeing like that. That's not what kids are doing right now. That's not what recess looks like right now. That's not what PE looks like. And it wasn't what it looked like when I was growing up. And we even
oh
had a
no,
better
yeah,
PE. Like we did
yeah,
some stuff, but like I was never introduced to any of that. We never did any gymnastics move. We never barely did any body weight movements. Like it's so
definitely.
silly that when coaches say that, it's like, I know you're not critically thinking about this. You're just saying a buzzword to say a buzzword. Like that's not what's happening. That's not reality. It's another like just fake argument we're making up so you don't actually have to look into something because it's like once these movements are added in and the athletes are like, holy shit, like I can do that. Like
Yep.
the philosophical change of what their body's capable of doing. They're not fearful of movement. They're not just scared to enter spots. It's like that in and of itself is worth everything that you do long term because now they can approach fitness and approach life in a way in which their body's not going to break because their
Yeah,
knee moved in a certain way or their body moved in a certain way because they know they've been there before. They've proven themselves.
yeah, and it's just so hard to convince other people of it. Like people that aren't. I'm like, oh, just like go try it. Like go do it. Like you said, they're just repeating stuff. Like repeating stuff they've heard. Go do it. Try it for a week. If you don't like it, I don't know, but like you will. Like you're gonna like it because it works. And it's so hard to convince even some athletes, I would say, because they're like, I'm gonna get hurt. Like, you're gonna get hurt doing a somersault. Then what if someone comes and push you? Like, what are you gonna do? Like, or like, why can't you do like a handstand? Like, especially if you're a collegiate athlete, you should be able to be athletic. But again, like the specialization thing occurs, and like they can only move in certain ways, like softball and baseball pitchers. Like, oh my God, treat them like they're in bubble wrap right now. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is so dumb. Like, you can make them such better athletes, and it's crazy. So
How have you noticed the difference for yourself in softball?
yeah, so I've just been more mobile. So I'm a catcher and I can just move easier, like whether it's like from the hit, like from whatever a static position to like a running position, I can easily like just get up and go. Like I don't know, like quicker because I've done a lot of rolls or like push up to sprint, like all that type of stuff. I just move way more fluidly. And I would say like I was already getting to like the fluid portion, like because once you do stuff for a long time, you get used to it. But I was even more fluid. And then like in the outfield, because I also play outfield, um, diving is like better because I can dive and it just doesn't hurt. Like I don't know, and I can get up quicker. Like it's just it should be taught or reacting more or just like if you're ever on the ground, I can just get up quicker than I would say other people. So
The diving in the outfield is kind of crazy too, because like I
yeah,
started implementing this stuff and then I was playing outfield. I'd never done any, like I had never played baseball growing up. So I was learning it all through slow pitch. And went
yeah,
into the outfield and I was just sprinting after a ball. I just full dove for it. I was like, and it dove like sleeve got up and threw. I was like, what? Like, what just happened? Like, I have never done that in my life. Like, and there's no way I was capable of doing that like 6 months ago. Like,
right.
like how automatically your body just understands, okay, I'm capable of going here. I'm safe here. I'm just gonna go do this rather than before, where it's like, there's no way it would have looked like that.
Oh yeah, like I would have like my back would have been hurting or whatever. It's like no, now I can throw my body and I'll be fine. Like me and my friend, me and my one of my teammates always wrestle like after practice. We'll just do a little because she's very athletic. She grew up in a like with a bunch of brothers that wrestled. So like I'm like, hey, let's wrestle, let's wrestle. So like, and then even like when she does take me down because she's strong, um, it's just like I feel good and like I can like doing those crawls are insane. Like my hand movement, my hand-eye coordination is so much better. And even she said that she's like, dang, over the summer you got like you're a lot better like wrestling now. I'm like, yeah. And like I just like to do that because I'm like, let me get some wrestling in because I actually want to do like I don't know if they have like wrestling seminars. I want to do that. I want to learn that because I feel like wrestling should be something like a lot of kids start off with because that is like crazy. Like I see some of the videos that youth wrestlers are doing on like online, and I'm like, that's insane. Like they're just like athletes, and I'm just like, I want to do that. So I'm like, let me find like a wrestling spot I can get into.
Do you follow Caroline Wester, a wrestling prep on
Yes,
Instagram?
yes.
She's insane, incredible. Like some of the stuff she sends me, I'm like, that is unbelievable. And she keeps saying it's not unbelievable. I keep training for it. I'm like, I
Oh
know
yeah.
that, but it's so sick. Like the stuff you guys are able to do is so cool.
Yeah, no, for real. And I follow like some college wrestlers, and they were just like some of them are posting a lot on social media. I forget one of the Bo or something. He just like backflips on his head. I'm like, what? I'm
Yeah.
like, this is insane. And I'm like, I want to try it. Like, I want to start getting like a just to like learn more about the body and being athletic. I want to learn more about wrestling, honestly. Like that has interested me a lot, and that's why after practice, I'll be like, hey, Meg, you want to wrestle? Because I'm like, just I want to like do it. Like it's fun. So
Yeah, there's and that's why I'm like, I can't do it right now because I got too many addictions, but like jujitsu or like martial arts, getting into that too.
jiu-jitsu,
Like
yeah.
the can body, like learning body control, and like when you feel like you have, and you feel in like defensive line's another one where you feel like it's a lot of grappling there too, but it's like the feeling of using somebody else's body against them in like it's such like a flow state of like just hitting like the
Yes.
perfect pitch in softball or like just
Oh
the
yeah.
perfect shot and like other things that you do, but it's like you just got them. Like you just use their
Yep.
momentum with them. And I think that's such an addicting feeling, which is why I'm staying away from it right now, because then I'll dedicate my life to fucking martial
Oh,
arts.
definitely.
The
No,
next,
I wanted to hop into jujitsu or wrestling or something. Like eventually I'll do that after my softball career. I can't wait to do that because I just feel like I'm gonna have a lot of fun and be more aware of my body. Like you said, it's just crazy how your body moves in that way. And there's also a different version of like strength. It's a crazy different version. Like, and you're so much when you can move another person's body, you're so much stronger than somebody that can bench 300 pounds. Like, I want to apply that's something I've been like working on. Is like, I want to apply my strength into other like aspects. I've been working on that for like a year, just like having that in the back of my mind. Like, is what I'm doing helping me like do other things? Not helping me get better at lifting. Is it helping me getting better at my sport, at moving, or at like wrestling with my friend? Like, so
well, yeah. And then that's the whole argument of like what strength is too, because you can go into like A lot of people that are super strong, and then you like touch them or move them, and it's like that person's just like barbell strength. Like they've just mastered the movement problem, moving a barbell, because you move them, they move super easy. And I
Mhm.
trained he's a Greco wrestler. He was training for the Olympics, and he's 160 pounds. And like that man, like he didn't have a lot of barbell strength because he didn't do it a lot, but like could pick me up. Like I'm 230 pounds. He could pick me up like I'm a feather. Like, and like trying to move him or do anything is like ridiculous. Like it's like the tendons and ligaments in him, like, are just
Yeah.
like it's hard to move that man. It's like that is strength. Like that's such a different level. And
Yes.
you have so many meatheads that are just like they just have they've never gone into those sectors, and they just keep preaching
Mhm.
like more like it's performance in the weight room. It's like, man, you're living in an alternate reality. Like go try
Oh,
to like move somebody like that. Or like wrestling or football's a big thing too, where they talk about punch. Like somebody's punch is really important for D line and O line. But it's like you see some small guys or guys that are not weight room strength, but they punch you and it's a different hit than somebody
oh,
that's super
definitely.
strong that can bench 600 pounds. And that's not to say don't have that person with a good punch lift. It's to say it's probably not their missing link for a lot of people that don't have a good punch if they already bench 600 pounds, like. So I think there's a lot of things there that coaches just like we simplify, like that's our whole thing. Like we try to simplify into systems because there's so much complexity going on, but we forget that we simplified to get it into our system. Like that's a big piece of it. We simplified to make it make sense in this time, and then we forget that we simplified and put it into our box, and then we pretend like the box is reality, and it is such like a disconnect from what's actually happening. Like we all simplify, we all need to do it, but we also have to understand we are simplifying, and what we are simplifying is not reality. It is our way of make this complex system that we don't have a complete understanding of make sense in the time being. That does not make it reality. It just makes it your
Oh, yeah.
simplification. It makes it your box of how things are going in the moment, so you can get through from point A to point B. But we have amnesia. Like we forget that we did that, and then we sit and argue and pretend like we didn't. It's like, I see right here where you did that. Like you took
Yeah.
from super training to simplify. Like it's just such a silly thing that we as apes do, and we just forget
Yeah.
that we do it.
Yep. Yeah. A silly thing to me is like, or not, I would just say like, there's a difference between a 300 pound bencher and like, if they can't move some, it's like benching is just not equivalent to being able to move somebody. And people think that all the time. I'm like, we need to create that connection. Like strength and conditioning is all like in the weight room, but something I also want to learn more how to, it's different in the college sector. And like, if you're in a private sector, you can do what you want. You're going to have people that want to do it there, or you just kick them out. So, but like in the college sector, that's something I have trouble with, is inputting some of my more different ideas that aren't traditional. Like, for instance, like grappling or like mini, like little wrestling or something like that. But like if you can move heavy weight on the bench, let's superset that with some type of grappling move. Let's do that and like use that strength, feel it, or like do it in the warm up. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I want to see more of that. And it's so difficult when you have all these ADs or sport coaches saying that's not getting them better because we don't have research on it. And it's just like we need to try and get this industry more into, look at this. This does work. Like let's think about this harder a little bit more. Like it just, I want, a huge thing is you can be so good. You can get athletes so good at the barbell lifts. It's so easy. So easy. You can get them better. But to be able to apply that to sport, whole different game. Whole different game. So
Yeah, and also like, and this is a thing that I keep getting because coaches like they just see that I'm in a private sector now. Is like I did all this stuff for 6 years in the college sector, from Division 3 to Division 1, like all the levels. Like you can do it at the college sector too. Like that's the thing that like coaches like, well, you do it in the private sector. I don't have time. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You're fucking compromising and you're making excuses for why you're not saying what you believe, or you just don't believe in it enough. Either one. But again, you can't have best of both worlds. Like if you
right.
truly believe this is the best way to do it, go do it. Go do
Go.
it. Like go implement it. It is doable. I did it with one coach and fucking 120 athletes sometimes in our sessions, and we were able to do a lot of this agility, a lot of the small sided game, a lot of the grappling stuff. Like it is 100% doable in the college sector. And so many coaches that give themselves the out of like, oh, I would if I was in the private. It's like bullshit. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. It's bullshit. Like you're lying to yourself. And you're letting other people control your program. Like if it's what you believe in, go do it in a college sector.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely easier in the private sector because you control it. But if you want to do something, you truly believe in it, like you said, do it. Just do it. Like try it out. And if that place is like you're an idiot, then leave.
Leave. Yep.
Leave. Literally just leave. Like But yeah.
All right, before we go, we got to give Mr. Brett Hitman
Oh
his
yeah.
little dopamine hit here and make sure we say his name on the podcast. That online training partner, how's that going? That's pretty dope. I haven't seen that
Oh my
before.
God. So yeah, I like to say I'm in two long distance relationships. One's with my girlfriend in Florida, and one's with Brett Hitman, and he's my training partner from in Connecticut, and I'm here in Illinois. So literally, I don't know how we even got connected. I just guess we followed each other on Instagram, and then I gave him my number, and now we text every day about like whatever, like about like some dumb coach saying this or about like what workout we're doing. And now we're both doing racehorse too. But all I gotta say is he is a little soft because apparently his hip hurts, whatever. I'm like, oh my God. I was like, okay, dude. No, he'll get so mad at me, but yeah, we've been doing racehorse too together. It's been super fun. Like, and sometimes we'll be doing it at the same time, like not like by coincidence. And I'll be like, oh, I'll just text him real quick. Like, I don't like being on my phone a lot. Mainly, I just like record. But like, I'll text him and be like, oh, how was that set? Like, whatever. And I'll be like, what weight did you do so I can try and beat him? And yeah, I beat him multiple times. So in the ISOs, I beat him. He does have me on the vertical jump, but that's a work in progress because my vertical jump started from absolute trash. So give me more time and I got it. And
Bro,
but yeah,
you finally get the shout out on the podcast. He gets called out twice. I fucking love it.
yeah, he's soft. He's soft. And he's gonna hate that I said that, but he's soft. But I love him. He's awesome. And one day we're gonna connect and stuff. So like in person. So I plan on that soon, which would be real cool. Probably like next summer we'll connect, get a few workouts in. That'd be real cool.
Fuck
He's
yeah.
he's a great guy, cool coach. We both are talking about we're both in a similar aspect, meaning like we're both trying to get into that entrepreneur, like posting more content, more YouTube videos, trying to get our name out there more. So it's really good talking to coaches that are in the
Thank you for listening. Join us next week as we dive down another rabbit hole. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a 5-star rating. Follow us on Instagram at Austin Yoakum to stay updated on future podcast guests. Keep chopping wood.
You lock in, like Hitman. You just see like the next up and coming wave of people that are taking over. Like it's just cool to watch like how people are like waving through and just how many cool coaches are coming up, man. It's just awesome to see. It's like one of the things that gets me going. I'm like, okay, the field's changing. It's all going through, and I get like very hopeful, and I'm like, it's awesome. There's so many good coaches coming up, and then I go onto Twitter, and I'm like, it's just my fucking circle that I surround myself with, and that I look at. And I'm like, it's still fucking hopeless. It's still so sad out there, but it's cool. It is cool to watch you guys go at it. I just wanted to mention that on there. It's cool to see that online partnership. And just seeing where it'll go. Like I just see it in 10 years. Like you two are just gonna be dominating the field and doing cool shit together.
Oh yeah, he's a great guy. He's super smart. We are always bouncing off ideas with each other. And I can't wait to connect one day. Like I'm gonna have him on my podcast and he's starting up a podcast and I'm gonna be on his. Like he's just a cool guy. He's a cool guy, even though he is soft, but we're working on that. We're working on that.
Well, Evie, thanks for being on. This was awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a great time.
Thank you guys for listening. Keep chopping wood.